Hey folks, Jonathan here. For anybody that don't know, this is a DT466 and got a 5-speed behind it. Story on this engine's kind of weird. It was in a truck running and driving, nothing wrong with it. The guy actually was a friend of mine, and he had rebuilt the injector pump. He had put a new turbo on it. Now this has been probably 10 years since he put the turbo on it, but he had some guys come that wanted to do some scrapping, and I'm not sure what the situation was, but I know he sold them a bunch of scrap and a bunch of trucks, and they actually decided that after they got through using the dump truck for some hauling, that they because I guess they lived out of state and all, they was going to cut the truck up. Well, he told them that if they cut the truck up, he wanted a motor and transmission, because he had spent so much money on it, and he did end up with a motor and transmission. And it was actually a pretty nice International, and I mean, I remember the truck well, and he used it for scrapping. But anyway, I ran into a situation on my top kick, which is the rollback right there that I just unloaded. I put one of these engines in it, and I've had trouble with the power steering pump for probably the last 6 months, maybe a little longer than that, but it worked good for a long time. Now the power steering pump on it is actually mounted down here, and it's a gear drive pump, and I don't know, got so many leaves and stuff on there. I don't even see the housing, must be made different, but it's actually mounted right into the timing cover housing on the back side. Now this is an 81 model engine, mine's a 91, so this is an older model engine. But the reason I bought this was actually for this pump. The pump, the brackets. I've got the belts, or I've got the pulleys, and so it's not a problem at all putting it on. I've got every one of these pulleys on mine, and I think I'm only running the two inside for the alternators. All I'm running, everything else is open on mine. So shouldn't be a problem putting it on there. And from what I can see on this didn't have air brakes. It had hydraulic brakes, but it didn't run off of hydro boost like mine. It actually ran off of, this is a vacuum pump to run the booster, and pretty good size vacuum pump. And I've never seen one like that. This one's actually oiled from the engine, and like the air compressors were, the oil actually drains back to the bottom of it and right back into the engine. This is all hollow in here, and that's how it would return. And well, this one here, I guess it's made a little different. It's got a hose, but it's hollow right here to this bracket, and this hose lets it return back into the engine. So it's actually oiled from the engine now, and pretty neat setup. So what we're going to do, the lines are hooked up low on fluid, which, you know, I don't doubt that. But I think what I can do, I want to start this engine either way, because or try to start it. And I think what we're going to do is get a battery hooked up and see if we can get some fuel to it. They cut everything when they took it out. They cut the frame, of course, and they cut the back of the drive shaft. We'll see if we can get the brake on, maybe get it neutral. Now I do remember, and he actually told me, because he had no reason to give me any, you know, BS about this, every once in a while the transmission would stick between gears, and or stick in gear or something, you know, the shifter would get out of place, which is not a big, that's not a big deal with me. And actually it's in gear now. Yeah, I can feel the shifter's not even working. So we'll probably pop that top off, them 4 bolts, and we can slide it and put it in neutral. It won't be a problem, but the shifter, I'm sure, is probably messed up, and they may have broke it when they pulled it out too. If you notice, that shifter bends forward, and that's for the International style cab, because this transmission ends up sitting about where your seats are at. And anyway, good old engines, I like them. Don't know what we're going to do with this one, whether we're going to save it for maybe an extra for later, or maybe put it in something if it runs. It's been sitting 8 years now since he had taken it out, so it's been sitting in the weeds for 8 years, and it's been in the rain, been getting rained on, and everybody can see the pine straw, the hateful pine straw here in North Carolina. But Let me see, they've had this pipe on it. Let's see if we can. Well, it's tight enough I can't get it off, but let me get a screwdriver and get this off, and we'll check, make sure the turbo spins, make sure nothing got up in there. And maybe we'll do something and see if we can fire that thing up. You know, these aren't very light engines either. It's a pretty good size engine. Matter of fact, I can see I need some air in the tire on my forklift. All right. Okay, folks, looking at the tag here, this thing is a, it's actually a 1978 model engine, made in October. This is the big one of all of them. You could get it 160 horsepower, 180, 190, 210, and also 210. Let me see, what's the difference? Something a little bit different. Anyway, 210 horsepower. Thank goodness I don't see any freeze cracks or anything in the block, so I'm sure he had antifreeze in it, I would think. So, fuel lines don't look the best in the world here. Maybe they'll hold up to getting it started. So all we got to do is go to this one fuel line, which is right here. We got one fuel line, the big one, and one return line, the small one. We can actually run them into the same bucket and just cut them off, and we'll put them in a bucket. And then these ones prime here. I know everybody, when I done the Ford, was talking about me priming it, but I had already primed it up to the pump. That Ford don't seem to have any trouble filling up the filter and getting it to the pump. But what happens when you pump this is it actually fills everything up, and then it starts recirculating back into the return side. So it's not filling it up from the injectors up through the lines. It's only filling it up the injector pump and the filter housing. So that was the problem with the Ford. I always had trouble getting it from the injector pump up to the daggone injectors. So that's why I cracked them all loose on that one. And pump sounds all right. I think the pump will be okay. So we'll pump it up, and hopefully we won't have to crack them lines loose. It sounds like there might have been a little bit of fuel left in it. Well, not good fuel, but fuel. And this has got a different pump. Mine's got the inline on it, but I don't think mine's as much horsepower as this. I think that one in my truck's a 190. But anyway, let me get that turbo cleaned up, and I will show you more. Okay, so far we've got what do we got? Okay, we've got the turbo cleaned out. Everything hooked back up. I pulled the other pipe and checked it. There's a little bit of white dust in there from the aluminum. Got it cleaned up. We've got the fuel to it. Just put two lines in the bucket. And pulled the drive shaft off from the back because it's not shifting out of gear, and I didn't want it slamming around. And I can't set the brake because they cut the cable. And let me see, we've got a battery terminal hooked up, and getting ready to try to start it. I've bled it out. We've got a little leak in this primary fuel line that may give us trouble, but we're going to see. All right. Fuel set on. This is fuel set on. This is throttle down here. No, it's working. I think I got fuel set on Yeah.
Here, leaking like crazy right now.
What is it? Oh, the fuel.
Main fuel.
I know, I'm making it from the oh, it's leaking, I'm not no problem, but it's
Yeah.
stuck in there. Let's see if that's all. Getting my hand now, I'll go there. This should work up here, so this
Seen that dust come out of it. Try to crack these other ones.
should have took off the gun. Yeah, it should have been more. Up and running. I think it'll be all right. Okay, folks, I'm sure that engine there is going to be just fine. What happened there is I was messing with the fuel shut-off. It was stuck, and it wasn't off all the way, and where it was off all the way, and I couldn't get it to get on all the way. So I guess I moved it enough to get it to spit and sputter, and that next time we moved it, it fired right on up. So, well, not a thing wrong with it when it was pulled, so I figured it would be okay. But at least we got the dirt daubers out first. Sounds good. Looks like it's going to run all right. I think everything will be fine on it. I'll have to pull that top off transmission if, you know, get ready to use it for something. But I think I'm going to try to get it somewhere in the dry. Anyway, we got to get the power steering off of it and get it on this other truck. So, but it runs. All right. Till next time. Bye.